And I can't believe I'm in the same Hollywood Squares here with Chris Long. That's like super cool.
The real
Awesome.
the real celebrity here is talking right now, Nicole.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Well,
Well,
I know how that works.
well, I think that we are live across everything now on Facebook and in Zoom. So thank you for everyone who's joining us from across the country to have a chat with retired defensive end and two-time Super Bowl winner Chris Long and Xylem CEO Patrick Decker. We're really excited to have them chat for a little bit and excited for everyone's support. Before I pass it over to them, just a couple housekeeping items. If you have questions to ask Chris or Patrick, please submit them in the Q&A box on Zoom or on the chat box there, or on Facebook, just in chat, and we'll get to those, as many as we can, at the end of the conversation. So with that, I will pass it over to Chris and Patrick.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question?
yes.
I'm going to throw you. It's a bit of a curveball.
Oh gosh.
Nah, it's a softball.
Okay.
When over the course of your career or your life did you realize that it really meant something to have a purpose? You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Take
I
it
think
away.
I'm always developing that purpose. I mean, you have an obvious purpose, like as a dad and
Yeah.
as a husband, as a family member. I have these inherent purposes, but I think it's always really good to have that external purpose that drives you, that brings out the competitor in you. And for me, that was always kind of football for a long time.
Mhm.
But I also knew that I would eventually be on the brink of finding other purposes because everybody knows football is not a lifelong venture. So for me, it was kind of given to me athletically with my work ethic, just funneled into that sport. And now I'm kind of reinventing that purpose.
I mean, I mentioned this to you before we came on, and that was, one of our board members, Victoria. Her sons are, big fans of yours. And when you think about the stage that you've got, and you've got so many people who have seen you that care about what you do, and then you take that back to purpose.
Yeah.
Why did you choose a couple of the causes that you're focused on right now?
Well, because, that's part of the whole thing is in that maturation process. And once you arrive at a place in the NFL where you're not swimming anymore to try to learn the playbook, to do the things that are demanded of that very stressful job, you begin to be able to, get your head above water and say, okay, how can I parlay this into making a difference? I mean, I think you always are kind of who you are, whether it's, fans out there, they ask, well, Chris Long has a bunch of money to give, or Malcolm Jenkins has money to give. They have a platform. I don't have that money.
Yeah.
I don't have that platform. But it's all relative. I look at certain CEOs and certain, like Bill Gates. Bill
Mhm.
Gates does tremendous things with his tremendous resources, and somebody small like me could say, well, what's the point? I think we all are pitching in and chipping in. But what you become as an NFL player is a person that used to look up at a role model, and now you're that person.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. When you have that realization as a player, you say, this would be a real waste if my purpose was solely football. And that's been part of the process.
It's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
Nicole, you're as Chris said, you're the rock star here. So I jumped in prematurely.
No, that's great. I mean, I guess one of the great things about what we do at Waterboys and through the foundation is that we get to work with great partners like Xylem. And like to Chris's point, he has a platform as an NFL player to be able to spread awareness. And we always kind of consider ourselves, the megaphone. We're the folks that can raise the awareness, raise funds, but we can't do our work without people who are actually boots on the ground, building the projects, identifying those folks that have the need, and making sure that our projects are sustainable. And I guess so my question to you, Patrick, is sort of, why from Xylem, did you identify us, or what does our partnership sort of mean to you guys and our work with Watermark and Xylem?
I think you said it best. It's boots on the ground. When we think about purpose, we talk a lot about, we're not just focused on creating economic value. I mean, we're a public company, we're listed, we've got shareholders, we have to, do things commercially. But at the end of the day, what matters most to me is, I think what gets people up in the morning is the social value that we focus on creating. And I don't mean that by way of just the water cause. I mean, water is obviously paramount to society. But, we've got roughly 16,000 people that work in this company, and they could wake up every morning and they choose where they want to spend their talents. And they choose to spend them with Xylem. And when I think about what connects me to them, it is the fact that they actually want to make a difference. They really do. Every organization, Chris, when you're in a professional football team, you don't have this, because I don't think you probably had even one or two players that actually didn't give a damn, because if they did or didn't, they'd be off the team. But same for us. I mean, we've got people that wake up every morning and they just want to go make a difference. So as we're looking around our communities, we are always looking for those organizations like yours that are just trying to make a big difference, a big impact. And how do we do it together? And so my question back to you, Nicole, is, when you looked at Xylem, and I suspect, we're not a household name. So, when our team reached out to you, you're probably thinking, who are these people? Unless you're a biology student.
I am. I am. I don't know about Nicole. Biology major.
Yeah. I mean, when we were, when you guys first approached us and said, hey, we're Xylem, like you said, I was kind of like, who's Xylem? But, very quickly, when Chris and I really looked into the research, I mean, it's the same thing kind of you said. It's that strength in partnership. And It was very clear that we have alignment across not only how we view the platform or the resources that we have, and how we want to help people get water, and how we want to do good, and that connection to, for you guys, for your employees, for your customers, for your vendors, and for us, our fans, our other professional athletes that are involved in this. And, I know you guys talk a lot about, your work through Watermark, serving vulnerable communities. And that's the exact same word that we use at the foundation, that our work is to serve vulnerable communities. So for us, it was a natural fit. And I think just, you can tell, I think one of the things that Chris does really well is that, and why we have success, because we're authentic to wanting to do good. And it is very clear the authenticity that you guys brought. So, that's the sort of the short answer to that. But
Hey, Nicole, could I jump in and ask you and Chris? So one of the big things for us is, so when we decided to partner with the city football group, so, Man City, NYC, et cetera, they talked about how Chris, this really, really resonated with me when I saw some of your earlier videos, and I didn't know you well. I mean, big fan, not a big Eagles fan, but I've learned to become an Eagles fan.
It's not for everybody.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Right now.
No, that's okay. I'm a Colts fan, but that's fine. But it was when the city football group and Pep, the manager at Man City, talked about the fact that they were looking to change the world through football, soccer, football, and youth. And I thought, wow, we're looking to change the world through water and youth. And I think about what you've done to connect youth, to get youth inspired for a cause. Could you talk just a little bit more about that? Because that, to me, Nicole, is where I really saw the connection. Was just the platform, Chris, that you've built here around youth.
Yeah, I think again, part of the process of figuring out what your platform is and what your reach is realizing that, who can I bend the ear of? And, football fans, American football fans, are not generally people who have to deal with or hear about water contamination, water shortage, the water issues that we deal with in East Africa. And in a lot of rural areas in America is what I'm realizing, even more than I thought in working with partners like y'all. So football fans as an educational opportunity is a big one in our country. Like that's a huge, passionate force that can get behind their favorite athletes, but also kids that you mentioned, favorite players. And kids are a blank slate. I mean, they really are. I think, you have a way better chance of influencing a young fan than you do an adult as to why an issue is important. And also, you have to look at things, we could get a lemonade stand that's like, proceeds get donated to Waterboys. We've had classes that come in and do a Waterboys day and they raise $40 and it's amazing. It's not going to move the needle financially right now, but these are the leaders of tomorrow. And so you're playing the long game and, investing your time and your effort into youth.
How could we, Nicole, what are your thoughts? I mean, how could we elevate this kind of focus and awareness on water? I mean, I go back to water and youth, and I just, we continue to struggle, quite frankly, in cutting through the clutter on recognition of this. And maybe you, Chris, just cutting through the clutter of getting youth to whatever the purpose is, find a purpose, go do something, go make a difference. Any thoughts that you guys have?
Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, I think some of it's repetition, and I think some of it is making it relatable. I think when you have folks like athletes talking about this and kids can see how they've used their platform and the difference that it makes. I think in the past, a lot of some of our role models have done sort of philanthropy, not wanting sort of the credit and not really talking about it. But I think when kids can see, it doesn't have to be necessarily even athletes. It can be their parents. It can be other people in their communities, teachers, stuff like that, and we talk about that you don't need a lot to make a difference. It is just about doing and making it relatable and showing that impact. But I think for kids, it's really important for them to see the correlation, because we can talk about, you should do something with your, you should do something good, but if they can't kind of touch and feel what that impact is, or really see back that, a small effort does make a big difference. I know on our end at Waterboys, we try really hard. Like Chris said, we might have a kid that goes out and draws hand-drawn postcards and sells them at his school and, cuts us a check for $80. We try to congratulate that kid and celebrate him just as much as we do, a donor that would give us $100,000, because it is all, like Chris said earlier, it's relative what you can do with your time and effort. It doesn't have to be money for everyone. It can be awareness. So I think giving them options and letting them touch and feel that impact, to me, is really important.
And in the water space, showing kids what their peers around the country are dealing with, and internationally too. Hey, you're 12 years old. All right, here's what a 12-year-old in this rural area in America is dealing with. You're 12 years old. Here's what a young girl in Tanzania is dealing with. That's pretty eye-opening. And I wish I had more of that as a kid. I always tried to have perspective, but I wish I had more perspective of like a parallel situation minus, that luxury that's, at hand that we're discussing. So I think that would that would help a lot if we did even more of that.
Hey, Chris, for anybody watching right now, obviously the tagline Waterboys, it has a sports analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who carries the water for the team. Just where did it come from? I mean, I don't want to assume that anybody watching right now knows the entire story. So where did it come from?
Well, it wasn't the Adam Sandler movie from the bracket. Although we did meet Adam Sandler at an award show. Me and Nicole did, and it was exciting to tell him about Waterboys, and he was excited about it too. So, yeah, when we started this thing out, I thought we had a really good niche for sure. I mean, to bring the athletic space into this area with more of a team effort kind of thing. I mean, people had done one-off projects, plenty of wells have been dug by professional athletes, but to bring it under one roof and multiply that impact. But we needed a name, right? So we needed something catchy. So naturally, my mom figured it out. My mom, who helps me on a lot of stuff, and Nicole and her work together sometimes on things. My mom is somebody who's heavily involved in like the Boys and Girls Club here. So she's got some experience in the space, but it really didn't come from that. It's just that she's really creative. So one night I was searching hard for a name, and it just popped up. And I do like the analogy though, of being supportive and being like, listen, and I think that's, listen, we're just megaphone people. Nicole put it perfectly. I think a lot of the Xylem folks, anytime we're on a call with, we were joking about experts, but y'all really are, and boots on the ground people, and y'all really are. Like, we're just the megaphone people. We're carrying the water for y'all. Like we're just trying to bring people to the forefront and be able to see the work you're doing. And you guys are the real best players on the team.
Nah, well, Chris, I mean, look, I'm going to show this because we're going to get you and Nicole a couple of these wristbands. Can you see that?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I love
nice.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
And you put one of those things on me, that could stay there for 3 years.
I've had this for 6.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it never comes off.
Yeah, no.
Even in the shower.
Yeah, I know. It's the cleanest bracelet in America.
So we're getting a little close to the end of time that we have here today. But just a couple things. We have a couple questions, but really quickly, because I know that we kind of have been talking around it. But Chris, our partnership with Xylem extends into many things. You guys have supported us in COVID relief, but the primary way that we work together is through our Hometown H2O program, which falls under our Waterboys initiative. And can you just talk a little bit, Chris, about exactly what Hometown H2O is, why you felt strongly, we started working just in East Africa and solving that sort of, developing water through deep borehole wells, but why working with Xylem and the Water Well Trust here domestically, was so important to you?
Well, I mean, it was huge because it's kind of counterintuitive. The work we did internationally gave us a platform to do work domestically. And I think that's because there is this kind of thought in our country that these issues don't exist here. So convincing people, as you guys know at Xylem, that they do and they're a problem can be probably challenging from a public awareness standpoint. Everybody knows that, or most people should know that we have an abundance of resources and access to those resources here, and water is one of them. And doing work in Tanzania for the last 5 years and Kenya, there were often questions that are very fair questions if they're intellectually honest and they're coming from a place of like really curiosity. What are you guys doing at home? A lot of times people ask that question. I know what they mean by it. It's like, well, I don't want to hear about that poor person halfway around the world.
Right.
Good people asking me that question are curious, like, how can we help at home? How can we get involved at home? And for 4 years, I heard those questions and I didn't want to rush into it. I didn't want to, stumble into the space. And so we found ourselves in this place in the past 2 years where we were really in a good spot as an organization. And we've been asking this question, Nicole, I've been bothering her with this, like we need to pair our domestic with our international. And that's how it's kind of gone. And finding you guys as a partner was like an easy in.
And Chris, we had the same kind of challenge opportunity when I first got here 6.5 years ago. The Watermark program, a lot of my colleagues, to your point, kept saying, why would I give money and support a cause that is so far away from where I live, when it's not clear to me how I actually make an impact in my own community? And that really is where you guys came into focus. And water is a big deal, but water is tangential to other challenges going on in our communities. I think right now the whole equity issue within our communities is obviously a big deal, but I don't know whether you or those listening or watching know that even in the U.S., for those who make up or represent the lowest 20% of take-home pay, the water bill can be as much as 20% of their net take-home pay.
Yeah,
it's a huge deal. And we do a lot of things, as part of our business model to help address that. But there's even much more that we do from a philanthropy standpoint to help address that issue. So again, we are with you guys internationally, but also here in the U.S. and whatever we can do to make this bigger, more powerful, count us in.
No, we appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Really, really big for us to get off the ground here domestically. And I think we got a great opportunity with football because there's fans in all these communities that love the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we have a couple exciting things coming up, and an inaugural golf tournament that we're going to be having in Charlottesville will be fun to get, celebrities and players together to keep raising money. And then we're launching our women's initiative specifically because when we started in football and basketball, we got a lot of males, and it's really exciting to bring female athletes into the fold and really put front and center that, water is a women's issue. So we'll be launching that in October, and we're really looking forward to that. So I do, just want to shout out Ed really quick. I know that he's driving and he pulled over and sent us a great story, Ed, that we'll be sure to share with Patrick and Chris. But thanks for listening in. And just before we go, Patrick and Chris, anything else for the folks listening before we sign off?
Chris, it's all yours.
I just appreciate everybody on this call. If you're on this call, if you're listening, I don't even know how many different platforms this is shared on. Like, that's the thing. Is it Zoom? Is it, Skype? It's just a computer to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a screen.
It's a device. I just really appreciate y'all, because if you're on it, that means you care. And I think it's very admirable what the folks at Xylem do, and your partnership means a lot.
Well, Chris, to you and Nicole, the same for us. You said it best. Anybody who's watching on this black screen right now, they actually care. And hopefully they'll get the message out to all your colleagues, our colleagues, to come listen to this. Nicole, you made a great point there near the end, and that is so many of these issues that we're dealing with right now are also women's issues. And so anything that we can do to amplify and increase that platform, we're in.
Oh, okay? Thank you so much.
We are all in.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about that, and we're excited to continue our partnership there. And the one last thing before we sign off, I just want to thank Xylem again, because you guys are matching, all donations that come in through the next week on, through the Facebook page that you guys have through that bracket game. So just thank you guys for matching and amplifying those donations coming through from fans. So really appreciate that. And if you guys are out there and haven't made your donation, make your donation, because Xylem's matching it. And thank you guys so much to everyone, and have a really wonderful day.
And fly, Eagles, fly.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Let's get off the ground here. Hey, Patrick, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.